Oi friends, Rin here. Today I want to talk about Dragon Ball The Breaker. And most of the reviews come from the fact that there are microtransactions. Some would say that microtransaction does not affect the gameplay at all, and others would say, well, if I'm paying for a $20 to $30 game, depending on the edition that you guys bought, I shouldn't be paying more in the game. It feels like pay to win. Now, after seeing all these reviews, I wanted to play the game for myself, and I was really curious if what they were saying is true. Now, I'm not talking about the beta. People love playing the beta, but after the official launch, there are a few changes, and people kind of steer away from the game and don't recommend it. I actually see a few people that got their refund from the game. Now, after playing it for a while, I came to the conclusion that it's a fun casual game, but it's nothing more and nothing less of that. I will get to the microtransaction part about the game later on, but for now, I want to talk about the game itself. It's pretty simple actually. So it's Raiders versus 7 Survivors, and the Raiders are the iconic villains of the franchise. We have Cell, Frieza, and Majin Buu. And Majin Buu being my favorite because he's just turning everybody into candy. And their goal is simple: wipe out and clear out all 7 survivors and make sure nobody escaped through the super time machine. And the survivor goal is to either escape through the super time machine or team up and defeat the Raiders themselves. There are a few problems with this, but I'll talk about it later on as well. But that is just the basic premise of the game. Outside of the matches and the game itself, there's actually not much that you guys can do. So there is a battle pass that you guys can progress through by just playing and winning matches, and you guys will level up and get more rewards. And these rewards contain like in-game currency and tickets. And the in-game currency you guys can use to buy cosmetic and clothing for your character and to design them, just like Xenoverse, which is really cool. Now I know there are premium clothing that you guys can only buy with the microtransaction, but you guys don't have to because they're just appearance and they don't do anything for the game at all outside of looking cool. Now I must say I really like the kimono, but anyways, the most problem with the game is the skill gacha. Now that's where you're summoning for more and new skills, such as like the solar flare or Gohan skill. Now here's the thing, if you guys play at launch, you guys will get the free Kaioken ticket that you guys can summon for if you guys want. There are other options as well, but there are certain aspects where, well, let's say you have bad luck and you guys don't get a new cool skill that you guys like, then yeah, you guys can, use microtransaction and get the skill that you guys want. But here's the thing, you guys don't have to do it. The starter kit that they give you is actually playable already. I played it for many matches and I think it's absolutely fine. Yes, the new skill, I will admit, they are helpful for the game, such as Solar Flare to escape the enemy, but they don't influence the match as much as you guys would think. Because there are many objectives in the game outside of just beating up the Raiders. So that's just one thing to think about. Something to know is that if you guys are planning to buy and play the game only as a Raider, then you guys are going to be disappointed because you guys are not Raider most of the time. It's not like Dead by Daylight where you guys can be survivors when you guys want and hunters when you guys want. In this game, if you guys want to be a Raider, there's a priority list that it goes through before you guys can become a Raider. So for me, it takes like every 8 matches before I get to play Raider once. So just expect to play Survivor most of the time and never Raider. But when you guys get to play Raider, it's so fun because you're destroying everything around you. And another thing to know is that you guys can't cross-platform play as of now. I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but you guys can't be playing someone on the Switch if you guys are on like PC, stuff like that. Okay, so let's talk about the beautiful gameplay. You guys spawn in as a survivor with your friends or by yourself and playing with randoms. You need to find the power key of that area. There are 5 locations you need to find the power key for. A, B, C, D, E. And once you find a power key, you unlock that area. Once you unlock all the areas, you guys start up the super time machine. And all you guys gotta do is protect it from the Raider. And the Raider goal is to destroy that super time machine and you guys cannot escape. It happens every match, unless the Raider destroy everybody before that even happens. But that's not where the problem of the game arises. I think that's a really fun aspect of the game. It makes it really cool. Now, the problem I have with the game is the Dragon Balls. Now, some of you guys know what I'm talking about already, but for those who don't know, is that if you're playing with randoms, then forget about the Dragon Balls. No one's summoning the Dragon Balls most of the time because everybody don't want to give up their Dragon Ball. It's so precious. You will see someone with 3 Dragon Balls, someone with 2 Dragon Balls, and you have 2 Dragon Balls, and no one wants to give it up because they want to summon Shenron for themselves. It's so much greed, and it's really funny because you guys play with randoms, then you guys can forget about summoning Shenron. No one's gonna give up their Dragon Balls for you unless they get murked by the Raiders, of course. There's one thing, you either one, find all 7 Dragon Balls by yourself, which is really unlikely, or 2, you play with friends and communicate about who is gonna summon Shenron. But most of the time, this is how it goes. Someone summons Shenron and they use all the power for themselves to fight the Raiders. It's a 1v1 kind of thing, I don't know. But they will never, I have never seen in a match, and I've been playing for a while, that they summon it for the team. But that's okay, half the time it goes well, but the other half, it doesn't work out so well. Just know that if you guys are playing with randoms, no one's gonna summon Shenron unless someone find it by themselves or they, find it later on in the match when the Raider drops it. But that's just the funny thing about the Dragon Balls. That's what I don't like about the game. The Dragon Ball is so hard to obtain if you're playing alone. Now, if you're playing with friends, you guys can probably all gather the Dragon Balls and share between each other. But I just think the Dragon Ball is such a weird aspect that it's just kind of by greed. Now, I think that it should be by vote. Someone summons Shenron and the team gets to vote on what happens, or people that has the Dragon Balls can come together at the altar and summon Shenron together. And I think that would be cool, and they vote on that as well. I just don't think that it should be solely based on one person, because then it's always about full power and greed for themselves. So that's just something, I hope that will improve later on, or some other changes happens to the Dragon Balls. As of now, if you're playing alone with randoms, or you're not playing with your friends, then you can forget about the Dragon Ball. Just absolutely forget it, because most of the time, no one's gonna give up their precious Dragon Balls. I mean, there are times that people do give it up, but most of the time, just don't even think about it. Okay, so I know many of you guys will agree with me on this. The tutorial of this game is so useless. So Trunks is waking you up. He's staring you dead in the eye, just like Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk. But here's the thing, does he teach you anything? No, he does not. So there's just a bunch of random controls on your screen with a roll button. Now, you want to learn everything else about the game, you better go to key bindings and figure it out yourself, or go into matchmaking and play the game and learn as you play. So figure it out yourself. Now, here's the thing, I get it. They're trying to set the foundation of the game, trying to tell you a story, why this is happening, what's going on, and why you're there. But here's the thing, at the end of it, nothing is answered. Not even Trunks know why the time rift is happening. So not only does it not teach you how to play the game, the story is not being answered as well. So that's great, you learn nothing from that. That brings me to my other point. The matchmaking system is so random sometimes. If you're a starting player, well, you might get matched with really high raiders out there and really high survivors. So while everyone understands what's going on, you're just trying to learn the game. So that's not really cool at all. So I think in future updates, they should really fix the matchmaking, or maybe add crossplay ? And the story thing, my suggestion on that is, it's okay to do the story, I get it. They need to implement the story somehow. But it's not a bad idea to teach players how to play in the tutorial. So I mean, Trunks could be like on an adventure with you and you guys encounter the villain and he teaches you how to fight the raider, gather the Dragon Balls, and you guys fight off that raider, escape, and end with the same story. So not only do they get the story, they understand how to fight raiders, find power keys, and the Dragon Balls at the same time. That's a win-win situation right there. But yeah, that's just my suggestion. I also want to clarify why it's important to teach players how to play in the tutorial, because you don't do that, you're screwing them over. I mean, like, they're gonna have to match online to figure it out by themselves. And especially since this is a game that's only online, they're gonna run around like lost children and not know what to do at all. And then 2 minutes later, they get destroyed by the raider. I mean, for those who have not played the game and this is your first time, you probably can relate to this. I mean, it does ruin the experience for them, but it also ruins their experience for their teammates. Like, let's say survivors that have experience, But you can't even blame them because no one even taught them how to play the game. So that's why it's really important to have a tutorial that teaches you how to play the whole entire game. Oh, by the way, there are hackers in the game if you guys are wondering. The funniest encounter I had is that there was a time where this raider was destroying our whole team, but here's the problem. They were just fighting and fighting, and they were beating up the raider and they were winning, but they were also taking so much damage and hits, and I'm like, wow, they're doing really well, but they're not getting, de-transforming and shield breaking at all. They're just going and going. And at a certain point, the raider is running away from the survivor. I'm like, what is happening? Then I realized they were hacking, And then they go back to looting. Then later on, they start beating up the raider to show their dominance once again. And the ironic thing about this whole thing is that we still lost the match. But anyways, hopefully future updates, get people banned for doing this stuff, try to prevent more hacks going on. But this arises another problem is that people leave mid-match or beginning of the match. So I had a few matches where raiders, mid-match, they just leave and it shuts down the whole game, which really sucks. But I'm sure, it does happen. Internet cuts off, stuff like that. And survivors, we are always missing 1 or 2 people randomly. It's just that before we start, we're missing 2 people already. Then we have 5 people. And this makes it not impossible to win, but it makes it really difficult. And the funny part is, not really funny, is that they are not penalized for it. No one gets penalized. You can leave mid-match if you want and nothing happens. I feel like in future updates, there should be a penalty for leaving. Maybe you have to wait a certain amount of time, like a timeout before you guys can matchmake again and stuff like that. Because as of now, there is no penalty for leave. You guys can just leave whenever you want. And it really sucks, but it is what it is for now. Overall, I think it's a decent game. Yes, I know there are many problems with the game. You're aware of it, I'm aware of it, we're all aware of it. But I mean, I really like the idea of the game. You gotta admit, the idea of the game is so good. But the problem is that sometimes it feels like it's not fully developed and they just kind of push the game out there for now. And hopefully, they'll fix it later on. But for now, that's what we got. And I mean, if the problems I listed make you don't want to get the game or play the game, that's very understandable. But if you're willing to ignore the problems of the game and just experience it for what it is, then go for it. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the game. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys all next time.